Hi everyone and welcome back. So in this series about citation, I had a presentation looking at the differences between MLA and APA, and I also have a presentation about MLA formatting. So if you need to know the differences between the two and you've been told that you need to pick one, or if you want to review both MLA and APA, those are also available for you on my YouTube channel. But today we're just going to focus on APA citation. And before we get started, I want to say too that this presentation should help you to kind of clarify how to do an in-text citation in APA format. But while you're writing, you might want to also think about consulting a citation guide. A lot of times you'll find these as pages on your library's website, either your school library or your public library. You might also get a book like the Little Seagull Handbook, or you can consult a website like the Online Writing Lab or the OWL, the OWL at Purdue, which also has pretty clear citation guides for both MLA and APA. But for now, let's get started. In-text citations. So these are citations that occur in the text of your essay. They're sometimes also called parenthetical citations because they happen in parentheses. A lot of times people think that these are the same as the citations you put at the end of your paper, but those are the full bibliographic entries, which will have things like all of the authors who wrote this piece, the full name of the article, all of the publication information. And really the point of an in-text citation is to be a brief citation that points to that reference list where the full information for that resource can be found. So if you're in school, your teacher will look through and she or he will want to know where you got this particular article from. And they can find that at the back, at the last page of your paper. But while they're reading, they want to make sure that you're showing what's from you and what's from your sources. And that's really what the point is with the in-text citations. They're just to show that information is coming from a source, and it's to show which source it's coming from. So they occur at the end of the sentence before the period. They're after any piece of research. A quote, a fact, a statistic, an example, a paraphrase, or a summary. They're not just at the end of the paragraph. A lot of students who start off in college composition just kind of put one at the end of each paragraph. That's not really where they're meant to go. You really need to have them at the end of the sentence where that research is from. Now, if you have a summary that lasts for a paragraph, of course, having one at the end of that paragraph would be fine. But they're not just after quotes. Any piece of research. So anything that's not common knowledge. And if you're not sure if something's common knowledge or if you should cite it, I recommend also that you see my presentation about how to avoid accidental plagiarism, which kind of talks about that in a little bit more depth. So what do these citations look like? Well, APA stands for American Psychological Association. And I kind of like to think of this as placing emphasis on the year of publication, as opposed to the MLA, the Modern Language Association, which looks a little bit more at the author, who wrote it. The APA, because of the disciplines involved like psychology, sociology, criminology, they really want the most up-to-date information. And a lot of times they'll be looking at research studies over a period of maybe the last several years. So the date is going to be quite important here. So in these in-text or parenthetical citations, you have the author's last name, then a comma, then the year, then another comma, then the page number or numbers with a dash showing the range. So it looks like this. Smith, 2021, page 199, or if it's a range, PP showing more than one page, and then 199 to 201. So that might be used for a summary. So you can do this and have all of the information at the end of your sentence, or you can include the author's last name and the year in a signal phrase. A signal phrase means that you're showing where this research is from. Sometimes I will refer to this if it's a quote like an introduction to the quotation. So here is an example. According to Sanderson, 2020, then we have this fact, and then P showing the page number and 9. This is basically all that you need for the most part. Everything we're going to look at are just little tweaks and variations on this theme. The author, the year, the page, the author, the year, the range of pages. Even here, author and year, and then the page at the end. I have people do all sorts of crazy things for citations. They will put in the full bibliographic entry. They'll put in just the URL, the website where they found the stuff. They'll sometimes put the full date. Like instead of 2021, it'll say like January 8th, 2021. You don't need all of that. You don't need all of that. You just need the author, the year, and the page for APA citation. So our first variation is a source with no page numbers. You might run into this if you have a source online. And in APA, they want you to reference the paragraph, chapter, section, table, wherever you actually found this information. Again, to help your instructor or later researchers, if you're doing a peer-reviewed paper, to help those people find your research more easily. So it looks exactly the same as the original that we just took a look at. It has the author's name, the year, and then here it's paragraph 4. So that's where this thing about Californian forest fires came from. Cohen 2019, paragraph 4. Here, Cohen 2019 is in our signal phrase, and I just changed, these are hypotheticals, so I just changed where I found this, supposedly, and it's table 3. So that's basically what it would look like. PARA if you're using a paragraph, and if you have a longer piece where it has chapters and sections, or if you have something that's in a table, you can refer to it there. Another variation is a corporate author. I love this little meme of Jordan Schlansky from Conan O'Brien. Various duties that align with the goals of the company. I use this because a corporate author is not the same as not having an author, and sometimes people get this mixed up. But what happens is that a corporation, a group or organization or government agency publishes a text without an individual author named. Now, sometimes this is for obvious reasons. A government agency is giving you something from the government, not from one person writing this paper. There's probably been a group of people who worked on this, right? A corporation might use this, like let's say that a manufacturer has a recall on a product. They don't want one person blamed for that, right? So they don't want one person putting out a statement and having their name assigned to it. Other times, corporations or organizations might have what's called a white paper, where they will put out their opinion on a subject. So a manufacturer might have an opinion about an environmental policy and how they're going to follow it, just as an example. So in that case, if you have a corporate author, you're using the name of the organization the first time you cite it, and then use the initials every time after that. So here is an example. We have these facts in this short quote, and this is from the Congressional Resource Center, 2016, page 1. Then later in this paper, I have this paraphrase about the Red Cross. And instead of printing out again, Congressional Resource Center, which would be really annoying as a reader to see over and over, right? I have the shortened version, CRC 2016, page 4. So again, you can kind of see it basically looks the same as the original format, just slightly different. Name of an organization instead of the author's name. So what if you have no author? I have this meme because no author, no idea what it's about, no problem, right? No. If you don't have an author, I would be very careful. And if you're in high school or college, I would talk to your teacher to see if you're allowed to use that source. My question when something has no author is always why. Most people in our day of social media want credit for what they've done. They want subscriptions, they want likes, they want to maybe make money off their writing. If there is no author listed, that might be a problem. Now, I have seen this. Here's an example. If you're looking at testimonials from people who were formerly addicted to drugs. Well, yeah, those might not have an author named, right? That would make sense. So it's just something to check on. If you're in school, I would check with your teacher and see if the source is okay for you to use. But if you can, in APA, if a source doesn't have an author at all, you use the title in your signal phrase or the first word or two of the title in your citations. You kind of shorten it up a tiny bit. The title or shortened title should be in quotation marks. So here's an example. The full article name in my signal phrase. The article Displacement Exploring the Negative Effects of Gentrification. So I have the title here in my signal phrase. And then I have the quote. And then I have the year, 2020, pages 8 to 9. Right? Here, I don't have the title in my signal phrase. I just have this definition. Gentrification is, quote, the process of changing the character and culture, etc. So here, I've just used the first word of this title, displacement, 2020, pages 8 to 9. So again, though, it's essentially set up the same way. You're using the title or shortened version of the title instead of the author's last name. So title, year, pages. Multiple authors. In APA, you're going to run into this a lot. You're going to see a lot of studies that you're looking at, a lot of research where there's more than one author. And I have this picture of these scientists because usually it's medical research, it's scientific research, it's some type of maybe university research study that's been done. So if you have just two authors, you use this little and. This is called an ampersand. That little symbol for and in between their names, Smith and Jones. If you have three or more authors, sorry, I just went back to correct. I had a little mistake there. So it's Smith and Jones, 2018, page 16. The ampersand in between their names. If you have three or more authors, you list the first author who is listed on that study or that article, and then you use the phrase et al., meaning and all the others, or and all the rest, and then the year, and then the page, the same way you do with the basic citation. So here are some more examples. This is a short quote, Best and Marcus, 2018, page 16. This one was done by more than 3 people, so it's Frank et al. I have this in my signal phrase, 2021, and then I'm saying it's on table 3. So let's say that there weren't any page numbers there. So that's basically how it would look. Again, not too much different. An and in between the last names, the year, the page, just like always, or an et al. After the first name, and then the year, and then the page. All right, last one, indirect sources. I like this little meme. I put a citation in your citation. That's basically what an indirect source is. An indirect source is a source that is cited within another source. So this does not mean that you have a journalist, for example, who has interviewed a number of different people for a newspaper article, let's say, or an editorial. What it means is that you have typically a research study that's citing various other pieces of research, and you want to cite one of those older pieces of research. Sometimes that is when this would occur. So for indirect quotations, you use the first author's name and then the year. So just like always. Oops. And then you use the phrase as cited in before you give the information to indicate the source you actually used, which would again be the last name, the year, and the page. Yeah, so I thought I left that out. So you're using it when you have a piece of research quoted and later cited. Here is an example. This original fact is from Julian Cervoni in 2015. Then the fact is in a study by T.J. Watterson in 2020, where he says previous research shows, and then he quotes Cervoni, 2015, page 103. So how do you put it in your paper? Well, in your essay, you will say, studies showed, and then you have the quote, Cervoni, 2015, as cited in Watterson, 2020. Here I put paragraph 3 instead of a page number just to kind of show you how that would look. But it could be page 4 or page 8 or whatever the case may be. So not too difficult. Cervoni, the year as cited in, and then the normal citation, last name, year, and page or paragraph. Okay, so let's recap. The basic APA format for in-text citations is the author's last name, the year, and a P, and then the page number. So Morris, 2021, page 3. For multiple pages, it's a dash with the page range and a PP in front. So PP period 3 to 5. For no pages, you need to show where it's from, whether that's a paragraph number, a section or chapter title, or a table. So here, Morris, 2021, paragraph 12. For a corporate author, the first time you use the full name, U.S. Department of Justice, and then the other information, the year and the page. Then after that, you can use just the initials showing that corporation or government agency, U.S. DOJ, 2019, page 71. If there's no author, you use the first few words of the article title, Writing Rules, 2001, page 18. For two authors, you use that little symbol for and in between, Morris and James, 2021, page 3. For three or more, you use et al, meaning and all the others or and all the rest. Then the year and then the page. And for an indirect source where you're citing someone who talked about someone else, it's the author's last name and the year, and then as cited in, and then the author's last name, the year, and the pages. Okay, so I erased all the ink from the slides. So you could see this a little bit better. But if you look it over, it's pretty much that same formula each time. It's the author or the title or the corporate author, a comma, the year, and then the location. If it's a paragraph, if it's a page, or if it's a range of pages. So it really isn't that hopefully too difficult. And I hope that this presentation helped to explain things for you a little bit to make you feel more comfortable. But I do, again, especially if you're starting out, consult a guide as you write. Just make sure that you're formatting these the correct way. Thanks, everybody.